Good morning.
Good morning. I was laughing at our frozen faces there, trying to be good for the when they capture us in those rare moments of non-speech that, yeah, like you said, they always capture the best moment.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that there's some algorithm that says, "Do it now, quick, hurry!" while her mouth is open and her eyes are closed. All good, all good. How you doing this week?
I am doing well. Um, I am like summer is definitely here in South Florida now, and so it's adjusting to that. It's hot outside. I feel like we had like a longer, I guess I'll call it spring than normal. Like it
Mhm.
was yeah, like 70s for a very long time, and it's not
I'm sorry to hear that. My condolences.
It's okay. But what I do want to talk about are mosquitoes.
Mm. Mm. Don't miss those.
They have
Don't
been
miss those.
torturous lately, like showing up everywhere. And I actually wrote about them in my newsletter today. And it was Saturday night. I was hanging out with some friends, and I was just like, because we were outside, and the mosquitoes were everywhere. And honestly, they just want a tiny bit of our blood so that they can procreate.
If you
And I'm like,
justify a mosquito biting me, I swear.
no. So, but my whole thought process was like, if they could just come and take that little bit of blood and not leave a welt and not leave me itching, I'd be totally fine with that. I would be totally open to donating my blood to the mosquitoes. But it's the fact that they leave that damn welt that itches for days. That's the annoying part. Like, just show up stealth, take your little blood, and move on, and it would all be fine. But then, because of all of that, I got curious, because I love the whole animal spirit guide thing. And so I'm like, well, there's mosquitoes in my office. There's mosquito. The other day, I've been meditating inside the sweat lodge, preparing for my journey of pouring water. And like the one day, I couldn't even stay in there because I was just swarmed by hundreds of mosquitoes. And I'm like, and in my office, like, I open the door for a few minutes and like six mosquitoes come in, and then they're tormenting me and the people that are there for their healing session. And so I'm like, okay, mosquito is trying to reach me. So what is the message of the mosquito? And like one of them that makes me laugh is like, watch out for energy vampire, like because
Mm.
mosquitoes are like vampires sucking your blood. Who else is sucking the life force energy out of you out there? And not just who, what, like it could be activities as well. Um,
Could be within yourself.
Sucking the life out of myself. Yes.
What are you giving
Um,
energy to?
well, yes. And uh crap, now like persistence is, one of them, being persistent. But then the other one that was very interesting, that's so relevant to us, it's a message about water and the transformation of water, because the mosquitoes lay their eggs or their larvae or whatever in the water, and then they develop and then
Multiply.
become flying mosquitoes moving into the air. And so the message of the mosquito is also one of transformation and the transformative power of water, which I just thought was so you know relevant to our four elements retreat. So maybe we'll even talk about mosquitoes at four elements retreat.
We can talk about it. I am hoping we don't have to experience it. I am the type of person that attracts mosquitoes from miles and miles away, whatever the sweetnesses that people have that make them prone. I'm definitely that person. My partner is not. So if we're both sitting outside, he's totally fine and I get all the mosquito bites. But I will say, since I have moved to North Carolina, I have not had near, like maybe I've been bitten by a mosquito twice in a year, literally. Um,
Um,
and I'm not even convinced it was an actual mosquito. It was probably some sort of other something or another. Because there's lots of other things that I see
mhm.
way more of than mosquitoes. But yeah, no. The biggest, strongest mosquitoes I ever met were in a place called Halliburton in Canada. It's I went to a photography retreat. It's 2 hours north of Toronto, and deep in the woods. And the mosquitoes were so big that you could literally see them coming. I mean, they were probably at least 3/4 of an inch large. And I remember that I was wearing pants and they bit me through my pants. And so I think it was like 4 days. And I think I spent all 4 days bathed in DEET, like actual DEET. I'm pretty sure, that's probably why I can't think straight and I have inflamed, but it was absolutely brutal. So, yeah, that was a bit tough. Let's see. Related to African tail. This is from Pam. Hi, Pam. Responsible, truthful communication related to buzzing in ear, not the bite. Responsible, truthful communication. Okay, interesting.
There we go.
Um, the only mosquito message I know, and I don't know if it's attributed to Confucius, but it says, or maybe it's just a joke. I don't know, but if you want to learn how to resolve problems without violence, sleep with a mosquito, something like that. Yeah. Anyway, if you Google that, you'll see what I mean. But anywho, so yeah, I'm grateful that we don't have that. It is definitely still spring here. It was 60 this morning. So it's actually nice and beautiful and cool and just the perfect temperature for being outside and relaxing and stuff. So we've been trying to get out as much as we can, taking drives and walking around and whatnot. So we're trying,
Nice.
enjoying it while we
Nice, nice.
can.
Ah, so our topic today is how do you strengthen your connection with spirit or source?
Such a good question.
I'm like, I swear that's all I do all day, every day. Of course, cacao is one of those ways. Um, Obviously, um, you know, getting into your heart space and opening there makes it much easier to connect with source. Um,
Mhm.
and like, obviously, there's the daily method and sitting here conversing with millions of people out there in the world. Um, it's not as a spiritual experience as just quietly sipping it on my own in the morning and meditating with it. Um, and then you kick it up another level by a cacao ceremony. And so I think, um, and not just cacao ceremonies, but any kind of spiritual practice, like showing up, if you're struggling connecting on your own, like showing up for some kind of spiritual activity, whether it be a cacao ceremony or I got tickets and Pam is going with me to a tea ceremony that's also connected to some artwork um, coming up in a couple weeks. And but I think sometimes, like, if you're struggling to do it yourself, if you go out and connect with other people that are doing it, it makes it much easier.
For sure, for sure. I think for me, it's a lifelong journey forwards and backwards and sideways and every which way. And um, I do find that I really love, as a matter of fact, I just bought myself another copy because I couldn't find my original copy, but Thich Nhat Hanh, Peace is Every Step. It's such a small little book, but it's just I love it so much. I think my original copy is probably like, I don't know, 30 years old or something like that, and I just couldn't find it. Good morning, Joy. She is such a joy. I was just talking about you the other day, Joy. Remind me to tell you later. So, um, being for me, my connection is trying to be mindful in as many moments as I can. Um, I try to be as present as possible, which also means that I'm focusing on the task in front of me. So for me, my extra challenge is finding the magic in the moment, finding that guidance in the mundane, because the mundane really is very special. I've been putting the final touches on the teachings for the retreat, and that actually is one of my favorite sources for the things that we're going to share. And part of it is that, is finding the magic in the mundane, because it's not mundane, it's a miracle. um, I read the other day, since the Big Bang, the matter has not been created nor destroyed in the universe. Like, the same amount of matter has existed. So everything is like a kaleidoscope, just rearranging itself in different formations. And how incredibly cool is that, right? So when you talk about like my connection to spirit or my connection to source, for me, it's like my connection to my experience, my connection to how I am part of everything else and how everything else is a part of me. And for me, if I can see everything that I feel is outside of me as actually part of me, then that's really powerful to me. That I don't know, that just gives me pause, and it to me it's very magical. So but yeah, other than that, I do think that getting together in community is definitely a lightning rod, for creating the conditions to strengthen that connection. The other day, we have a really big pretty church downtown here, and it plays the bells, and it plays them, every hour on the hour and whatnot, and it's just such a nice reminder to be grounded and to, kind of just connect. Like, remember, you're not just, running around. Oh, your tail is sticking up.
I've
uh
grown a tail, yes.
but I'm not just running around doing things, I'm running around being, right? And anyway, that feels pretty darn special to me. So yeah.
Yeah, I think in the biggest piece of that, no matter what thing you are choosing to help, is it's just intention. And you can use any tool out there. Like me, I'm a big crystal fan, and so meditating with crystals and connecting with them um, helps strengthen that connection for me. Um, and like knowing that you were saying the mundane, but that connection can be anywhere, everywhere, if you
Mhm.
just set your intention quiet and listen. And it's interesting when people say they have lost their connection, because it's always just there. You just have to open to.
Yeah, it's kind of like radio waves, right? They're always in the air, but until you tune into a particular frequency, you're not going to hear what you want to hear. For me also, I think overnight is a really powerful time for me. Like, I definitely know I problem solve, and I have, I don't know, a lot of experiences overnight. And the more I set my intention on what I'd like to experience, or what work I would like to do while my body regenerates overnight, the more interesting and exciting and productive my nighttime is. My sleep slash, I don't know, leave my body for a while and come back later, whatever you want to call it, dreams. So that also for me is a very intentional time period. Sometimes I don't
Yeah.
have time to sit and meditate during the day, but I know I'm going to get a good 8 hours, and that's a lot of time to get some work done too. So I put intention into that.
Yeah. So what's interesting is, so if anybody out there doesn't know that's listening, I have a sweat lodge in my backyard, and Chief is training me to one day, when you lead a ceremony, it's called pouring water. So I am in training to pour water, and knowing that this opportunity for me to fully lead a ceremony on my own is approaching, I I asked Spirit, like, what will be a good way for me to prepare? And the message that I got was to sit inside the lodge by myself and meditate. And so, like I told you, I've my first attempt at doing that. Well, actually, my first attempt was fine. Um, I think it was like too sunny at the time, and so the mosquitoes, I don't think they really liked the sun, so they weren't there. But then the second time I went, I was trying to meditate, but man, the mosquitoes were just insane. And then yesterday I went with some essential oils that repel mosquitoes, and it was actually fine. And I sat and, um, we have these big stones that they get heated in the fire and then they get brought into the sweat lodge. And so the ones from the last ceremony are still inside the sweat lodge. And so what I've been doing when I go in there is grabbing one of the rocks and sitting there and like asking the rock, like, what message do you have for me? And last night I sat with 4 different rocks and got 4 different messages. It was really beautiful. But then what was even cooler, and then I'm thinking of this because of what you were just speaking about. Last night I was dreaming about sweat lodge the whole entire night. So yeah, dream time is a beautiful space to connect and receive messages, and but
Absolutely.
but I think you definitely have, like, and now I I woke up not remembering as much as I wanted to about the dream, but I also know I went to bed not so much with the intention of receiving these messages at night. So tonight when I go to bed, it will be a different story, and we'll see if I can connect more deeply and receive more from that dream time state.
Yeah, and then, like, advice for everybody, like, try and wake up slowly, I can't wait to get to the point in my life where I don't have to set an alarm anymore and I could just sleep until I'm done sleeping. But I have kids and they have to get to school on time and it's pretty early in the morning, so I have to live, with the alarm. But on the days that I don't have to, over the weekend and whatnot, just waking up on my own and waking up slowly, I find myself processing that information while I'm still kind of just in that half and half state. It's such a special time of consciousness to be in between state.
Yeah.
I pick up a lot of good advice, I guess is the word there, a lot of good guidance. So that's something you guys can try. I'd love to hear some feedback on that.
Um, Another thing is, a tool that we love to use are oracle cards. And because I think sometimes for people, you know, messages from source, from spirit, can come in so many different ways, and sometimes they're like screaming at us, but we're just not tuned in there. And I think oracle cards are a really simple way, like, the message is so much more obvious and clearer to people. And so when you're not, um you know I was talking to rocks last night. Like, the rocks were actually saying things to me. Not everybody can hear a rock speak, and so, but an oracle card has words written on them that are, like, unless you can't read, you can obviously get the message from the oracle card. So that can be an easy, useful tool. I just recommend for people to find a deck that resonates with them. um I've had so many decks over the years, and I've given a lot of them away because I was just like, this isn't my deck, like, it doesn't I don't connect with it. So,
Mhm,
find one
mhm.
that you really feel connected to.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
love oracle cards. I'm surrounded by decks. I absolutely love them. And what's really fascinating to me is that ever since I like the first time I ever picked up a deck, I get repeated messages consistently. And if you see the deck, sometimes they are 40, 50, 60 cards. I think some of the ones that I have next to me now are like maybe even almost 70, which is a huge stack of cards. I can't do the statistics on it. Like I don't know. I didn't do well in math in school, and certainly can't remember statistics. But what are the chances, and I know someone out there with a math brain can tell me, like, with 65 cards, for me to pull the same card 2 times in a row, 3 times in a row, like, it is a huge, statistical, anomaly for that to happen, and yet it happens for me consistently. And not just me, this happens to plenty of people, but for me, it is such a clear indicator of this is the message for you. Figure it out. Read between the lines. What are you missing? Right. And then I think I'm doing the thing, and then I get the card again. And it's like, okay, maybe I was pointed in the wrong direction. Where else do I got to go? What do I got to do next? So sometimes I ask a specific question, and sometimes I just say, what do I need to know for today? Or how do I craft this, the day that I want to have, little questions like that. And yeah, it's always there, it's always on point, it's always right. The other day I did a kind of like an intuitive just guidance session for a body and soul client, and we spent about an hour on the phone together just talking and going through things. And I said, I feel like I should pull some cards for you, and she's like, absolutely. And I said, okay, great. And I'm like, does this deck, if I show you this picture, does this resonate with you? And she's like, yeah. That's because I gave her options. Do you like this one, or this one? She goes, let's do that one first. I said, okay. We did a 1 card pull, and then on the other deck I did a 3 card pull, and I just did it like with her intentions, and everything that came out like fit her life perfectly. Like if I had tried to, rig it somehow myself, I never could have done it because there's like 60 cards in each deck. So it really is beautiful to see it. Yes, Pam, especially when the same message comes from several different decks. Absolutely. That really tells
I
you to
had,
get your shit together.
yeah, at when I do the cacao ceremonies, and you also, like, oftentimes we have the cards available for people to pull, and it varies from ceremony to ceremony, like which decks I'm guided to bring out and how many different decks. But it happens so many times that people get a message from one deck, and then they're like, but I want a card from that deck too. And it's like they're 2 different decks and they have the exact same message. It's like the universe going, are you listening? Are you listening?
Yeah. Or like, okay, you didn't get it this way. Let me tell it to you that way. I mean, one way or another, you're gonna figure it out.
And we've
But
had
yeah, I
also,
love that.
there's a lot of regulars that come to the cacao ceremonies, and it'll be like one cacao ceremony, they get a message, and then they show up the next month and they get the exact same message again as well, like, a whole month later. So,
Well,
or I should say a whole moon cycle later.
that's why I invented cacao and card, casual cacao and cards, like an easy Saturday morning, an hour or two, however long it is, like come sip cacao, come pull some decks. I mean, the last one I had, literally, within 5 minutes of everybody pulling cards, like everybody's crying because the message is so obvious and it's so what they were looking for. And isn't that a connection to spirit or source or your higher self, whatever you want to call it, call it whatever you want. It's still the same thing. It's the inspiration you need to get the answers you want to move forward in your life. I think so much of the time we kind of wait for permission to be good or grand or great or fabulous or call ourselves an expert or whatnot. And that if that's what you need, then pull the card, because I guarantee you're going to get what you need. So I love cacao and cards. It's one of my favorite events that we do because it's so relaxed, and it's not necessarily ceremonial. You don't have to, it could just be chill. It could just be a nice and easy, relaxing Saturday morning thing. So I'm really enjoying hosting those.
Nice. Any other thoughts on ways to strengthen or connect your connection?
I think we've covered a lot. I would just like to hear what else the audience has to say. We haven't mentioned music. I know music is another way of connection, creating it as much as listening to it, writing, all of those things. So I just want to hear from our audience. What do you guys think? What am I missing? What haven't I done that I could do? I love to obsess over stuff. So give me something I haven't thought of yet. Pam Littleton, that morning time is such an important time to transition. Journaling after the quiet is awakening. Yes, beautiful, beautiful. I love it. Thank you, Pam. Thank you for being a listener. And Joy, thank you for being here this morning. And all of those of you watching and not commenting, that's okay. We love you too.
Yeah, I'd love to hear any tips that we might have missed this morning that our audience uses. And also I'd be interested, what else does our audience want us to talk about? Like, we have a long list of things that we're going to talk about, but we'd also be happy to, set up episodes based on what you would like to hear about. So,
do you remember what number episode we're on? I think we're close to like 270 or something
we're
like that.
We're close to 270. Yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah. It's perfect.
And we're getting close to 20,000 downloads. And so it's, this is definitely, it's not an easy journey to do this, but every once in a while when we think about like retiring the podcast, we get the feedback that no, the people want to hear, they want to listen, so we keep it going. And yes, Graciela and I can speak endlessly pretty much about any topic. But if there's something you want us to talk about that you'd like to hear our views on, either comment on this episode or send us a message, we would be happy to oblige.
Yeah.
And because we were talking about oracle cards, we need to mention the beautiful deck that you created, Graciela, that's available now. You want to tell our audience a little bit about them?
Yeah. So, I get a lot of inspiration through my cacao journey. And so one day I just got a ton of messages to share with you all. So put them together in a card deck. I think there are 40 cards in volume 1. It's one of 4, by the way, spoiler alert. So this is going to be a 4-deck series. But our first one is out. It is on the website, and they're just simple little messages. Again, you can just ask, what do I need to know for today? How should I focus? And you will just pull a little card and get a little message. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. We also have our journal, the Living Aligned Journal. That's also on the website. All of these things, again, will continue. There's going to be more versions of those as well. And then, our everyday experiences, our special experiences, and of course, our big retreat coming up in June. So there's a lot going on.
It's almost sold out. So if you're thinking about joining the retreat, don't wait any longer, or your seat will be gone. So,
worse, your bed will be gone.
Yes, your bed will be gone.
What about the bed?
Oh, awesome!
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. I'm very excited.
All right, I think today that's a wrap.
All right, guys, we'll have an amazing, amazing day, and we'll see you next week.
Have a magical day, everyone.